All right, one of my favorite segments we do is when we talk restaurants, because the restaurant scene in Atlanta right now is off the hook. And I like the good and the bad. We're going to have Caleb on right now from What Now Atlanta. And towards the end of the segment, he's pulled the restaurant failings. You know, when you read the...
Yes.
The ones that... And these are recent, current, ratings that got people... And then they list what happened. Those are the ones that I want to know about. I don't know about you, but I need to know who's not cleaning up behind the bar. You know what I'm saying?
The scores.
Caleb, what's going on?
Good morning.
Welcome to paradise.
I heard about this contest you all were running, and I had to come and check out the suites for myself, so...
It's unbelievable that you're actually there.
I told him, hey, so when we're doing the show this week, I'll be in Turks and Caicos. And he's like, well, can I come there?
That's unbelievable.
Said, well, sure.
And the only caveat was that you had to fly me out here on the private jet.
Yeah, I sent the Morning X jet and wheels down. All right, so I know the scene is popping right now in Atlanta. What are the big restaurant stories? Save the good stuff, by the way, for the end, the failings, because I love that stuff.
We'll hold that to the end. I think the biggest piece of news right now is that the Buckhead Cheesecake Factory building, which actually was erected a year before the Morning X went live in 1994, has come crumbling down all these years later.
It's gone, finally, that eyesore?
It is gone. The excavators were out there this week, completely demolishing the building.
Oh.
Buckhead residents have been begging for this because not only is it an eyesore, but it's also become a little bit of a homeless camp. And it's prime real estate right there by that cascading Restoration Hardware building.
Fram, you know what building he's talking about, right? That pink one?
Yeah, when he said it's gone, I didn't mean it was like actually excavated and gone. That's incredible.
It's been empty for a while. I would assume that some high-rise is going to go in, or maybe a deal had stalled, but that's a valuable piece of property, like you said.
Well, Cheesecake Factory, they're over at Lenox Square, part of the overhaul that happened a few years ago, and that building is sat vacant, and the property owners are trying to figure out how to get the biggest bang for their buck. The Restoration Hardware space, which used to be ESPN Zone.
Yes.
It was bought in 1990 for $3 million. And the property owner sold it for $33 million. So that's the kind of dinero we're talking about.
Wow.
There's a lot of context right there. I don't know that the moving the Cheesecake Factory to Lenox did anybody any favors.
I think you're right, though, Barnes. Sounds like a high-rise to me, condos.
There's a ton of restaurant news. I know you like the closures because it's interesting to see what's come and gone.
Well, I don't like them, but I'd like to know, and I'd like to know what happened.
There's been quite a bit of that, but what I was going to say is luckily we've had lots of great things opening, and actually on August the 4th coming up, there's a really cool Italian experience coming to Buckhead called Bar TMO. And that's from a pretty popular restaurateur who's got quite a few concepts. That's coming to 3199 Paces Ferry Place.
319. What used to be there?
That used to be...
Yibo?
Portofino.
Oh, Portofino. That was a very popular restaurant. Fram, you used to live right across the street. Remember your first apartment you talked about? It's right across the street from that.
You said it's from a very well-known chef?
That's right, yeah. Marco Betti, who also owns Antica Posta and Sauce Buckhead Pizza Bar. It's hard to beat something from an established restaurateur. They typically have the formula down pretty well, so I'm excited to check that out when it opens later this week. There's been some interesting movement over at a long-standing Doc Shea's Noodle House, the one in Grant Park. I don't know if you know this, but it is no more. But it was quickly replaced with a brand new Chinese eatery called Chef Wang's, which is also from another pretty established restaurateur.
So that's been there forever, though, right? That Doc Shea for at least 20 years.
15.
Oh, 15, okay.
They had a 15-year run, and Charles Wang, who's also an Earl of Sandwich franchisee, he came in and flipped the space in about a week, kept the staff, and overhauled the space for the Chef Wang's concept, and they're up and operating in no time.
Wow. He just turned it over.
He turned it over. Now, he did acquire Doc Shea's back in January, so he had some time to really learn the system and processes that were there, get to know the space and the staff, and then when the timing was right, went in there and flipped the concept.
We're talking to Caleb from What Now Atlanta, all the new restaurants in town. Now, can you tell us, we heard something about this Formula One bar in Buckhead. What's that about?
That's right. There's a new Formula One racing inspired cocktail bar. It's called Driver Bar.
Dude, that is hot right now on Netflix. Everyone's watching or has watched or watching that Formula One show. It's addicting.
It is incredibly addicting. It's a super cool, swanky space. It's open now, and it's from a very established restaurant group, the Storico Group. They've got several concepts around Buckhead.
Is theming it Formula One going to make it feel cheesy, like you're at like like Myrtle Beach, like a Myrtle Beach, the NASCAR museum? I mean, it's going to feel, what, they're going to have cars in there? What are they going to do?
No, it's more to give you that feeling without being right on the nose.
They're going to have sounds as you're eating. I mean, what do they do?
It's more about inspiration. It's not, like I said, it's not right on the nose. So I think it's designed very well. It's super swanky. Definitely a great place to catch an afternoon cocktail, maybe before or after dinner.
So much money in Formula One.
It's unreal. Yeah, swanky is the word.
Austin has that new track. I mean, they use that thing once a year for Formula One. That's just major bucks. If you haven't seen that Netflix show on Formula One, get in there. You'll even if you don't like racing, you will love it.
All right, well, this is one of my favorites that's hit the scene recently. It's a little outside of Atlanta in Gainesville, but there's a new restaurant called Hello Hilo, which is from the folks who started the King's Hawaiian brand. Do you know that bread?
Same people? Yes, of course.
I am addicted to this King's Hawaiian bread. It's kind of sweet.
It is addictive.
That sweet bread, and they've got the rolls that you pull out at Thanksgiving.
I've seen that. Yes.
Well, they've got the bakery's their primary business, the bread, but they've started rolling out restaurants across the country, and they've debuted a brand new concept out of Gainesville called Hello Hilo, and it's now open. So it's Hawaiian inspired eats, and I'm sure we can get some of that King's Hawaiian bread there as well.
I would have called it, reading it, Hello Hilo. H-I-L-O, but are you sure it's Hilo?
Maybe I'm saying it wrong.
I don't know. I was just wondering if that's it.
Hello, Hilo. It's spelled H-I-L-O. We'll see.
I was like, hello.
All
right, this is the good stuff. Which of my people have failed? I mean, how often do they come and test restaurants?
That's a great question. The health inspections are unannounced. The health inspector shows up at the door, comes in, and says it's time for your inspection.
And some of these people...
I feel bad for them, Barnes. Don't revel in their misery.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm saying, but they should be cleaner, right?
Well, of course.
If they're failing, they're putting us at risk, the consumer.
It's important that the public knows.
I think so.
That we hold these restaurants to a standard.
So what's your disclaimer before? Some of this...
The disclaimer is that these inspections are recent, but they don't necessarily reflect the most recent scoring. So the health inspector could have come back by now, and they could have cleaned up their act and have a completely new score. So this is really a moment in time.
A snapshot in time. Okay, who's first?
All right, let's look at the Sleepy Potato, which is fairly new. It's at 757 Cleveland Avenue. I had to pull this one, Barnes, because their score is atrocious. They got a 32 out of 100.
Wow.
That's far below failing.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And I wanted to call out this one violation in particular because it's the first time I've seen it. And just want to preface this by saying that when the word observed shows up on the inspection, that means that the health inspector actually saw this happening in real time while they were there for the inspection.
What is it?
Observed employee wipe sweat from face, place it on their hair restraint, and then return to work without washing their hands.
Yeah. Lovely.
The list goes on from there. They've got about 30 violations, which is what gave them that really, really, really low score.
All right, what else?
That's low.
All right, let's talk about Public, which is a mainstay in Midtown. It's right next to the Fox Theater.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that.
They're at 654 Peachtree Road. They scored a 68 out of 100, so anything below 70 is failing.
So they barely failed, but what killed them?
All right, here's a juicy one. The health inspector observed black mold-like buildup on the chute of the soda dispenser.
Oh.
So if you saw a floater in your Diet Coke...
the word mold, yes.
But you know what? I see that at a lot of places where those machines look a little funky, and I just move on to the water at that point when they look that bad. Like the old ones like at gas stations.
Have you ever heard of a little restaurant by the name of Waffle House?
Uh-oh.
Well,
what?
They actually are on this list quite a bit.
Are you serious?
Are you surprised?
Well, I mean, I guess...
hear this.
Well...
I love Waffle House.
All right, so we're going to pick on the one that's at 66 5th Street.
Okay. Score.
I feel like we need a drum roll for this.
Score.
62 out of 100. Cockroach activity in the kitchen.
No words.
And another spot that I'll call on here is Hudson Grill. This is the one at 120 Marietta Street.
Which, by the way, did you see that the old Hudson Grill is now a Chick-fil-A in Brookhaven? Have you seen that? It's a new sit-in restaurant.
I actually missed that changeover.
It's one where you go in and sit down like more like that original one kind of. It's like a restaurant, but it's a Chick-fil-A. It's not like their usual the way it looks normally.
Barnes is now a contributor to What Up Now or What Now Atlanta.
Well, it's because I drive past that one all the time. But anyway, what did they score?
So this Hudson Grill got a 65 out of 100. And the biggest violation I saw on here that really grabbed my attention was they had beef patties, tilapia, and raw chicken that was being held above the temperature that's deemed safe. So just sitting out and beyond the temperature it needs to be in order to be cooked and served.
I don't know if you've had food poisoning like that before, Fram, but I had that from tuna one time on an island that it had been sitting out. And man, that kicks your ass for 24 hours.
Yes, I have.
All right, check out What Now Atlanta for all your restaurant news, more in-depth, even more than that. Caleb, thank you for coming all the way to Turks and Caicos to deliver the news.
You had to twist my arm.
The Morning X with Barnes and Leslie. 99X.